In the annals of automotive history, certain cars stand as icons of design, engineering, and legacy. Today, we delve into the captivating tale of a vehicle that remained hidden from the world for decades, only to resurface with a story as remarkable as its design. Join us as we uncover the journey of the 1952 Abarth 1500 Biposto Coupé, a masterpiece of collaboration between Carlo Abart, Nuccio Bertone, and the visionary Franco Scaglione. Unseen in public for some 40 years, and only rumored to have survived, it was sympathetically used and preserved for 50 years by Richard Austin Smith, a longtime editor at Fortune magazine. Although the Abarth 1500 Bertone Coupe was not described as a Berlina Aerodynamica Technica when unveiled by Bertone at Turin, its design may explain why Bertone and Scaglione began numbering the famous Berlina Aerodynamica Technica series at BAT 5. The 1952 Turin Motor Show Abarth 1500 Bertone Coupe is patently the first in Scaglione's series of aerodynamic technical exercises, incorporating both concept and details echoed in the subsequent. It was followed in 1953 by a similar design on a Fiat 1100 chassis, which itself was immediately succeeded by the brilliant extravagance of at the 1953 Turin Motor Show. In retrospect, Nuccio Bertone and Franco Scaglione could not have known that their 1952 Abarth 1500 Coupe would be the seminal exercise of an immortal series. They would have found it incongruous, if not presumptuous, to call it the first of a series. This extraordinary Scaglione designed, Bertone-built Abarth 1500 Coupe was described in Nick Giordano's coach-building volume of the Bouleux Encyclopedia of the Automobile as the coupe he had designed on a Fiat Abarth chassis in 1952. Its history subsequent to Turin 1952 is no less extraordinary than its importance in automotive design evolution. Following the Turin show, it was purchased by Packard and brought to Detroit, where it was used in Packard's design studio. It was spotted and admired there by Richard Austin Smith while on a tour of Packard during research for a Fortune magazine article. During his visit, a new Packard advertising program was described, but Packard executives noted there was no slogan for it. Smith made suggestions which were later adopted. In a July 10, 1953 letter, James Nance, president of Packard, noting that I've been informed by the engineering department that they have completed their studies on the Abarth foreign car, gave it to Smith to compensate you, even though I know that the assistance you gave us was not done with this in mind. Notations on the original letter, which accompanies the lot, indicate that Smith asked for and received approval from Fortune management to accept Nance's gift, and it was duly shipped and delivered later in July. Smith apparently responded enthusiastically to the Abarth's arrival, since Jim Nance replied to him on July 29, 1953, "You know, it makes me feel good that the little car means something to you and your family. Quite apart from the personal aspects, but I am now sure I could not have done anything better with it." Richard Austin Smith's subsequent stewardship of Packard's token compensation attests to his singular appreciation of its style and significance. At this time of his death, he owned only two cars, a 1998 Ford Taurus and this unique Bertone-bodied Abarth. It was not the object of idle possession either, but was actively used and enjoyed during the Smith family's ownership. Now showing some 31,926 km, it was a part of the Smith family and is fondly remembered by Richard and Kathleen Smith's sons for, among other things, the sensation it created when their dad arrived in it to pick them up at school. It was displayed at the Henry Ford Museum's Evolution of the Sports Car exhibit in February 1953 and was one of 3 cars in a special display at the entrance to the New York Auto Show in the early 60s. According to the records of Peter Vack, author of the Illustrated Abarth Buyer's Guide, it is the first Fiat-based Abarth. Its series number, 214, is peculiarly out of sequence, but the date of its construction and introduction is most firmly established. Carlo Abart associated with Rudolf Ruska and Ferry Porsche following WWII. Rusca, later chief engineer at Alfa Romeo and Abarth, brought Ferdinand Porsche's radical mid-engined flat 12 Grand Prix design to Count Giovanni Laurani's attention in 1946. With Laurani's introduction to Piero Duccio, it became the ill-fated Cisitalia GP, and also involved Abarth with design and construction of Cisitalia's Fiat-based D46 race cars and 202 series sports cars. When Cisitalia fell upon hard times in 1949, Abarth left, taking cars and components as his severance pay. With backing from Armando Scaglione, he established Abarth Co., and quickly set about supplying the post-war demand for tuning and speed equipment. He raced Cisitalia-based Abarths under the Squadra Carlo Abart banner to promote the company. A Squadra Carlo Abart 204, driven by Guido Scaglione, son of Abarth's financial backer, won the Italian 1,100cc sports car championship in 1949. Piero Taruffi captured the Italian Formula 2 championship the same year in a 200cc Abarth. Tazio Nuvolari won the Palermo Monte Pellegrino hill climb that year, the Flying Mantuan's last race, in an Abarth 204. When the supply of Cisitalia components ran out, Abarth designed his own car, drawing upon his exposure to Ferdinand Porsche's concepts to create a welded-up platform chassis. The engine and drivetrain came from the new overhead valve four-cylinder Fiat 1400. Abarth the tuner increased the engine's displacement to nearly 1.5 liters, variously described as 460cc, 480cc, and 492cc, by increasing the bore, bumped the compression ratio to 9:1, and fitted a pair of Weber Tipo 36 carburetors to an Abarth-designed intake manifold. Exhaust flow was promoted by a set of Abarth 4-into-2 two-tube headers. An unusually short-stroke 66mm engine for the period, Abarth coaxed 5,700 RPM out of its pushrod valve train and extracted an estimated 75 horsepower, 70% more powerful than Fiat's 1,400. Bertone took on the project of building a lightweight aerodynamic body for Abarth's chassis. Giuseppe Nuccio Bertone had directed the family coach-building firm since 1945, and in 1951 he recognized the talents of a young designer, Franco Scaglione. Their first collaboration was Carlo Abarth's 1500. Introduced at the 1952 Turin Motor Show, it was a sensation, recognized as most outstanding car, and attracted highly deserved attention to both Bertone and Abarth. Scaglione's design for the Abarth marked a dramatic departure from the designs of the day, a futuristic concept that eloquently expressed aerodynamic concepts that would dominate automobile styling for the next 2 decades. Bill Graves and Edward McCauley, respectively Packard's engineering VP and chief designer, had ventured to Turin in 1952 to display their 24th Series 1952 Packard, a styling redesign in only its second model year, and solicit ideas from Italy's designers. The Packard's size, however, baffled even Bertone, Ghia, and Touring. Graves and McCauley then sought the best example of Italian design they could find at Turin to illustrate their concepts to Packard's management. They came home with the Scaglione-designed Abarth Bertone Biposto. Packard was in survival mode at the time, and while Graves and McCauley were still in Turin, a new president, James C. Nance, was brought in from GA's Hot Point Appliance Group to give renewed direction to the struggling independent. Fortune magazine associate editor Richard Austin Smith drew the assignment of profiling Nance and the changes he was bringing to Packard, eventually resulting in the article Packard's Road back in the November 1952 issue. In addition to the usual corporate analysis, Smith's article displayed an unusual sensitivity to design and styling. It devoted a full column to the Turin expedition and included a photo of the bemused Jim Nance inspecting Scaglione's prismatic little Abarth. Concluding the caption with the observation, "Its value is now largely ornamental under Nance. Packard's styling will stick to lines that are architecturally correct, forgo the lunar asparagus." Less architecture and more lunar asparagus might have saved Packard, but thankfully for later generations, Richard Austin Smith saved the Abarth. Used gently and appreciatively for some 20 years before it was put up in his dry garage in Connecticut, Dick Smith's Abarth is as he received it from Packard in July 1953, except for an old repaint in a slightly darker metallic blue that has aged extremely well. Although it was dusty when photographed for the catalog, it wasn't the dust of 30 years, or even of 13. Dick Smith must have looked after his Abarth even as it sat in his garage, unknown to the outside world. Its Marshall lights appeared to be the originals, with a yellow bulb in the large center light. The doors close well and match the body's lines perfectly. The glass, even the plexiglass rear light, is in excellent condition and the wind-up door windows work smoothly. The trunk is solid and still contains the spare wheel, tire and jack. The hubcaps shown in its Turin show photographs are on the wheels, and another set of hubcaps, with what appear to be stylized P emblems, are in the car. The bright metal trim, so often quickly made and fragile on show cars, is complete and extremely well preserved. The condition of the engine is unknown. It clearly has not been run in some time. The last registration in the glove box is dated 1977. The brakes are stiff, and the tires are badly aged Goodyears which were flat when found but still hold air and appear to have tubes fitted. Richard Smith kept comprehensive records of his Abarth, including the correspondence from Packard which accompanies the lot. Neat and remarkable details abound on Richard Smith's Abarth Biposto, like the marker lamps under the projecting front fenders, the inset machine gun, taillights, and the thin dorsal fin down the center of the rear window. Although the bright headlight surrounds are heavy in appearance and would be supplanted by more sensitive and elaborate treatments on the subsequent BATS, the split air intake they define is finely developed and sensitively formed. The greenhouse, with its delicately split wraparound windshield, large rear light and thin pillars, is light and predicts design elements that remain in vogue today. The scooped fender wells, lined here with formed and polished aluminum, are distinctive features that reappear in Scaglione's subsequent designs for Bertone's Arnold Bristol and Aston Martin custom bodies. Most distinctive of all, however, are the subtly curving rear fender fins which so accurately foreshadow the extravagant empennage of the later BATS. Their gentle compound curves are marvels of Scaglione's sensitivity to airflow and the craftsmanship of Bertone's artisans. Richard Smith's Abarth 1500 Bertone Coupe is a singular discovery and opportunity. The first Scaglione design for Bertone, it led immediately to the renowned BAT series, brilliant styling exercises that set a standard of aerodynamic innovation for all subsequent designers. Its Abarth engine and chassis introduced Carlo Abarth's talents to a wider market. Preserved intact by Richard Austin Smith, this Abarth 1500 Bertone Biposto Coupe can be sympathetically cleaned up and mechanically freshened, then displayed in as found cosmetic condition for headline treatment at the most important concours d'elegance, where its true elegance and importance will be enthusiastically appreciated. Then its new owner has the opportunity to restore it accurately and sumptuously to its 1952 Turin Motor Show condition and experience another round of concours and shows.